Hi and welcome to Master Pastry Chef's, one of my favourite recipes of all, simple vanilla ice cream. So here we have 300 ml of thickened cream ready to whip up. If you don't have a KitchenAid or a mixer, you can do this by hand, and this stage you'll just do by hand, and all the mixing stages you'll do by hand. In a second bowl I have 150 grams of caster sugar, 6 egg yolks, just strictly egg yolks, and some vanilla bean paste, a good tablespoon, and in a measuring jug I've got 300 ml of milk. And the most important preparation of all, so this will take you about 10 minutes to get ready, and it's really simple, but the most important preparation of all is space in the freezer. So I've taken out a rack in the top of my freezer and created some space. And now it's time to get started. The first step we're going to do is, because we're going to be making an anglaise, we're going to get our milk into the microwave and just give it a bit of a kickstart. So let's go for about a minute, just to heat it up. Then at the same time, what we're going to do is we're going to start to whisk our egg yolk and sugar mixture. And what we need to do is get that to a nice pale consistency. Don't be scared, get stuck right into it. You'll see how quickly it starts to change colour. Now if you want to swap and change bowls, you can do this in the mixer, but by hand it's pretty quick. Just get it to about this stage, and what we can do, what I've got over here is I've got some water simmering on the heat. I'm going to turn that back up now. We're just going to whisk this mixture over the heat, trying not to touch the water. What we want to do is just basically get it to a nice light consistency, because if we throw the milk in there, which we'll be doing in a second, and all of it at the same time, you're going to basically take forever for it to thicken. So what we're doing now is just cooking the egg yolks just a little bit. Now a good idea at this point would be to get a tea towel and grab the bowl with, or else you're going to burn your fingers, and do this for about 5 minutes. And what I'm going to do now is go test the milk. If the milk's not to a point where I can dip my finger in, or I can almost not dip my finger in, then I'll give it another half a minute to a minute. Be back shortly. Okay, so the bowl's starting to heat up and it's getting a little bit runny. Keep taking it off the heat, because what you don't want is scrambled eggs. Now my milk, which actually did take 2 minutes, I'm going to add that in. Give that a bit of a mix, and notice how we have a nice liquid which we now need to thicken. So what we're going to be doing now is going on and off the double boiler. Now I've got asbestos hands, but if it's a bit of a pain, maybe use a smaller pot and do this bit by bit, on and off, using a tea towel. Probably take you about 10 minutes until it's a nice thick consistency. Okay, so after about 10 minutes, you'll see you'll have a nice frothy, well aerated mix. It'll be nice and thick underneath that. And the whole idea behind this, and you'll see the next stage as well, it's all about aeration to get that nice, light, fluffy ice cream. And that's why we're not using any corn flours or any starches to thicken any of it. It's nice, simple and natural ice cream, the way it was originally meant to be. But it does take a bit of elbow grease, because if you're at this point, would have taken you about 10 minutes to get to this point. So this is going to go into the freezer for about 10 minutes, getting some air into this cream mixture. And just give it a light whip. And again, it's all about the aeration. And what we're trying to do is just get air through each stage. So we're not whipping this up to butter. We're not whipping it up to a chantilly. We're just getting some air through it. Now because we're getting air through it, that changes the way the cream works, and if we added it to the hot mixture, there's a possibility that it might split the cream as we put the hot mixture in. And you know what, that'll do it just as it starts to get a bit of pale. We'll stop it right there. Okay, so we have our lovely englaze mixture, so it's actually cool to touch. You can dip your fingers into it and you actually feel it nice and cool. It actually took about 20 minutes in the freezer to get to that point. And as you can see, it's nicely aerated. And it's got a creamy consistency. Not thick and gluggy, just a nice creamy consistency. So now I'm just going to remove the whisk. And as you saw before, we've got our slightly aerated cream mixture. And what we're going to do, we're just going to slowly combine those together. So I'll drop the mixture just on low speed. And what this means, we've got two aerated mixtures coming together. To make our beautiful ice cream mix. And you can see the consistency of that. A little bit of paste, so it's nice and ribbony. And that's that. Nicely aerated. Nice and thick. And that's the difference between a beautiful ice cream, and now's where the fun part comes in. What we're going to be doing, and that's why we created the space in our freezer, this is going directly in the freezer. Now make sure you use your timer. This is something that you would only do when you say either watching a movie or you know you're going to be home for 3-4 hours. So what we're going to do, we're going to set, I'm just going to use my oven timer over here, set it for 30 minutes. I'm going to remove the mixture. Our pre-prepared freezer. So now we're at this point, what we're going to be doing is giving it a bit of a whisk at half-hourly intervals. Now you could do it probably 3 times, 4 times. Then you leave it overnight, give it a bit of a mix the next morning, leave it another few hours, and you will see the result tomorrow. Okay. And it's now time to do the first mix. So we grab our ice cream, and if you notice there's a little bit of icy parts here. So what we want to do is, if you leave that and just let it freeze overnight, then what's going to happen is you're going to get water separating from the cream, and that way you're going to have an icy ice cream. So that's why every half an hour, for as many times as you feel like doing it, 3 or 4 times will do, you put your whisk on. As you can see, you give it a good whack. You don't have to be gentle with it. All you're doing is get a bit of air in it, and almost like emulsifying, or making sure the air stays in there, and you're making ice cream, not icicles. Put that back in the freezer. put your timer back on for another half an hour and go watch some TV. Repeat the process probably 2-3 times. Then place it in the freezer overnight. Give it another whack. Then after a couple more hours in the freezer, your ice cream's ready to serve. Okay, so it's the next morning and 12 hours have passed now. Ice cream should look something like that. So now, pretty much our ice cream is ready to scoop. It's hard as a rock. And because of the aeration, you can see how perfect that's turned out. And there we go. Perfect vanilla ice cream. Enjoy.